Say that
I should have said little or nothing.
Yeah, well,
but regrettably I did occasionally say something.
Interjected. And you say that when you read his work, you often never know if you're in the world of fact or the world of fiction. Now that strikes me as perhaps being the kernel of the appeal to le Carre's work for you, but also what would have most attracted you to this project. Do you think that's fair?
Yes.
Okay, next question.
I hate to agree with you so readily.
Yeah, I'm disappointed actually.
David Cornwall is very fond of making comparisons between his work and Graham Greene. I think there's an even closer connection, at least for me, between him and Joseph Conrad. And that connection is a writer who really traveled the entire world. And it's like some kind of infernal meat grinder. Turned history and his experiences of history into literature. David Cornwall, in so many ways, is a documentarian. He investigated his stories. He involved himself with people who were part of those stories. The whole beginning of the film is about this close connection between a spy who came out of the cold and the construction of the Berlin Wall. It is, for me, extraordinarily powerful. And in putting it together, we tried to make that close connection visually. I was talking to my editor, Stephen Hathaway, while the movie was playing, and you see those images of people jumping from windows. And then you see the image from the movie, Martin Ritt's movie of the spy who came in from the cold, with Richard Burton. And you see very similar images in that movie as well. The appeal? Yes. The appeal was that strange combination, concatenation, if you like, of history, world history, personal history, and literature. It's really quite extraordinary. And yes, I was possessed by it.
Well, I want to ask in a moment about the interview, but I read an interview with you about the making of the film, and you said a phrase which really appeals to me. You said that when you began to research the project, you kind of gathered all of le Carre's books, and you realised it was you described it as a tsunami of words, which I love. Did you attempt...
A lot of them.
A lot of them. Big books, long books. So, I know that the memoir, The Pigeon Tunnel, is a work that you like, but did you decide at that stage, I'm not going to attempt to read everything? What was your process to finding your way into the project?
I didn't decide not to read everything, I just couldn't. It became an impossibility, at least for me. Of course, there are people who read his works over many, many decades as they came out. I was trying to read a lot in preparation for an interview that I was about to do. But I love the Pigeon Tunnel, still do, best of all, because it is such a very, very peculiar memoir. A book had been commissioned, a biography of John le Carre by Adam Sisman. David didn't like it. I often say I should thank Adam Sisman for making the Pigeon Tunnel possible, because it was a reaction to the book that Adam Sisman had written. Not a bad book, but a pedestrian, expected biography that started at the beginning and gradually worked its way step by excruciating step forward in time. The Pigeon Tunnel is anything but that. You can't really call it much of anything. I used to say it was episodic or picaresque. Choose your adjectives. But it's crazy. It's disjointed. It's fragmentary. It's bits and pieces of everything. And it's also filled with parables. As if I was dealing with a latter-day Franz Kafka. And like Kafka's parables, they're perverse, funny, absurd, despairing, and you don't know exactly what they mean. You have the outlines of something without all of the details. The Pigeon Tunnel is the perfect example for me. I loved it. The bookends of the Pigeon Tunnel, which are the Pigeon Tunnel, which is on the frontispiece of the book, and the last story, which is the story of Rudolf Hess's flight from the Third Reich to Scotland. And what do they mean? The Pigeon Tunnel is a story of just endless repetition. The pigeons fly out of their coops on the roofs of the Monte Carlo casino. They proceed through a dark tunnel out over the Mediterranean, where they either get shot or winged, or they escape. And what do? They return to where they started, to those same coops on the roof of the casino, and they head out again the next day, and the day after that, and the day after that. Internal repetition that invariably ends with death. It's the story of ourselves. I loved it when I first read it. I still love it. Although I'm never clear, who are the pigeons? Who are the shooters? Am I supposed to make some kind of parallel between the real world and the story? I don't even know. And the Hess story is something that fascinated me. I'm a great believer in objective truth. Of course there's objective truth. There's a real world out there in which things happen. Philip K. Dick was very fond of saying reality is that which doesn't go away when you stop believing in it. It has a way of hanging around out there, inexorably. So here you have one of the great mysteries of the 20th century. What in hell was Hess doing? Why is he flying to Scotland? This is just shortly after the Blitz. This is 1941. To make a separate peace with the British government. A mystery. We even went to see the Duke of Hamilton, hoping for answers and not getting any. And what is David telling us about this? The heart of so many stories may be total absurdity. Maybe no answers at all. Not that answers don't exist, but we in our limited capacities, our extremely limited capacities, as a very bad and self-deceived species, may never find them. We had this discussion, you just saw it, about the inmost room, which doesn't come, okay, I'll fess up, doesn't come from The Pigeon Tunnel, it comes from another novel, The Secret Pilgrim. Smiley is lecturing to a group of young recruits about the nature of espionage, saying, "Oh, I know all of you want to know the answer to how the world works." Well, there is none. It's really chaos. David tells a story of Goethe's Faust, of making a pact to try to learn about just that kind of secret, that inmost room. And in the end, he tells us it's chaos. That history itself is chaos. And given this world that I live in currently, we all live in currently, that it's just rife with conspiracies, theories about this conspiracy and that conspiracy. In my benighted country, conspiracies about elections, conspiracies about vaccines, and on and on and on and on and on. Well, there's something lovely about conspiracies. They simplify the world. They tell you that there's a reason behind anything, maybe a terrible malignant reason, but a reason, which somehow is perhaps preferable to no reason at all. And David is telling us it's madness out there. People at cross purposes with each other. People acting in confused, desperate, contradictory ways. History is not about conspiracy. History is chaos. It's a powerful message and a sad message.
History is chaos. I'm going to get that on a t-shirt.